Hello and oops, hello and welcome to Reproaction's Act and Learn webinar for January 2023. And today's topic is incredibly important. It is being a supportive person to someone self-managing abortion. And before we get into the content, we'll introduce your host. The first voice you're hearing is Erin Matson. I use she, her pronouns. I am co-founder and executive director of Reproaction. I'm based in Washington, D.C., and I am Erin to the Max on Twitter. And I'll pass it over to Tanisha to introduce themselves.
Hello, the voice you're hearing now is Tanisha Henson. My pronouns are they and them. I am a campaign coordinator here with Reproaction, and I'm based in Greensboro, North Carolina. And if you want to find me on Twitter, you can find me at DJ Dump-Them.
Awesome. All right. Look at our agenda. We'll introduce Reproaction, and then we'll talk about abortion support and self-managed abortion. From there, we will move to a panel discussion, and we're super excited to be joined today by two experts in the field. First will be Liz Gustafson from Pro-Choice Connecticut, and then we'll have Lauren Overman, the Neurodivergent Doula. From there, we will move to next steps and then do Q&A. And I want to be clear, if you have questions at any point in the webinar, you don't have to wait until the end. You can type them into the questions tab at any time, and we'll get to as many as possible at the end. There is a question about, are there going to be captions available? Thank you so much for that question. We have been working on that, and we will. I do not believe that is an option for this webinar today, but we're working diligently at that. There will be captions available, should be for the recording. We will be uploading it to YouTube. So thank you for that question. Accessibility is very important to us, and we are working to make that a reality with that on webinars. And if you want to live tweet, if you haven't given up on Elon Musk yet, you're welcome to tweet using the hashtag Reproaction, and we'll also be tweeting from them. So just a bit of intro before I pass it over to Tanisha. So Reproaction leads bold action to increase access to abortion and advance reproductive justice. And we thank you for attending this webinar today. We're known for our left flank analysis and our willingness to hold folks on all sides accountable, whether they're traditionally considered allies or opposition. And we have a deep commitment to nonviolent direct action as one of the tools in our toolbox. And with that, I am going to put myself on mute, and I'm going to play a video of the World Health Organization protocol before passing it over to Tanisha. So just one moment, please, while I do that. Hello, and I'm just now realizing that there is no sound because during the video that we shared the protocol with, and I deeply apologize for that. I have been coming in on my phone rather than my computer, which caused that issue. However, the recording should allow that, and we can also share with you a link to that video that has a voiceover, but the information is all there that you should have gotten. So thank you, and sorry about that. With that, I will pass it over to Tanisha.
Thank you so much, Erin. So just to start off, we're going to continue an overview of self-managed abortion with pills. So just to reiterate, self-managed abortion with pills is safe and effective using the World Health Organization protocol, which was shown in the video we just saw. And there are many ways somebody can be a supportive friend, family, or community member to someone who may be self-managing their abortion at home with pills, which is why we are here today. And information about abortion pills belongs to all of us, and it is important that we all know that. So what you're seeing here are two resources that we have at Reproaction. One is a fact sheet explaining the self-managed abortion protocol for just using misoprostol, which is what we saw in the video. And the other is a fact sheet explaining the protocol for self-managed abortion using mifepristone and misoprostol. You can find these on our website, and the links will be shared with you in follow-up email as well. So abortion support and doula work, kind of the meat of what we're discussing today. What is the difference between being a supportive person or being an abortion doula? The Colorado Doula Project defines a trained abortion doula as someone who is equipped to provide non-medical, non-judgmental, knowledge-based care for someone experiencing a medical, surgical, or self-managed abortion. To explain further, an abortion doula is typically going to understand the protocol we discussed previously, and they will be aware of the rare yet possible complications that a person could experience during self-managed abortion. They could also have lists of pain management options, further community resources, the best things for someone to have on hand during their abortion. Sometimes abortion doulas will have other more specialized skills, such as herbalist certifications, massage therapy, Reiki practice, conflict management, yoga instruction, and so much more. It is important to note that not every person who is self-managing their abortion is going to have access to an abortion doula or know that is an option for them. It's conversations like the ones we're having today that not only expand our knowledge of the different resources available, but it ensures more people can find compassionate care to help them through their own abortions as well. So what we have here is a beautiful collection of resources we have on many different aspects of self-managed abortion. So we have in the top right corner, Understanding Self-Managed Abortion, which is going to discuss more of the protocol we discussed previously, a webinar on still pregnant after self-managed abortion, how to know the signs and what to do. Another one on how to talk about self-managed abortion and how to have these conversations, not only with people who we may be supporting, but with our loved ones who are eager to learn more. We have a webinar on self-managed abortion in global context, a webinar on abortion agency and medical self-advocacy, and another one on period, pregnancy, abortion, and digital security as we navigate this new abortion access landscape in an advancing technological world. Another resource I want to highlight before we move forward is a video on the difference between medication abortion or abortion pills and emergency contraception. I want to make it clear that these are not the same things. And if you would like to know more, there's also a video on our website, and it will be linked out in the follow-up email as well.
Thank
And
you
with
so
that,
much for Nasia. Cool. I will now introduce our first panelist, Liz Gustafson, the State Director of Pro-Choice Connecticut, a co-founding board member of the Reach Fund of Connecticut, and a proud abortion storyteller. Go, Liz. After receiving her master's in social work from the University of Connecticut and working in the field of food justice advocacy, Liz joined the Pro-Choice Connecticut team in 2018 as the organizer and volunteer coordinator and transitioned into the role of state director in 2020. Love to see internal promotion paths. Awesome, Liz. In her capacity as state director, Liz is more committed than ever to combating abortion stigma and continuing the organization's efforts alongside cross-movement allies to ensure Connecticut continues to protect and expand reproductive freedom. Liz, thank you so much for joining us today and making time at this incredibly bonkers time for Repro advocates.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, thank you. Well, so I will dig right into the first question. How can loved ones be more supportive to people self-managing their abortion with pills? In your experience as a social worker or abortion storyteller, how do you see the larger systems like policing or healthcare impacting one's experience with self-managed abortion?
Yeah, so as an abortion storyteller, to answer that question, I typically use my own abortion story as an example as to why it is so important. If you are having an abortion and having someone support you through that process, to have these conversations about, you know, what resources are available, what the support you need will look like, and that also includes potentially if you do need medical care or don't. I had my abortion in 2018, and it was a medication abortion at home. And while, you know, I had a support person there with me, hanging out, taking care, and just giving me some comfort and support. The next day, we didn't really have a conversation about what that care looks like the next day, if any. And we didn't really talk about how we would touch base. And so because we did not have that conversation, unfortunately, there was, you know, a lack of communication between us. And because she had not heard from me, there was a deep concern for my safety. And I think that's why this conversation is so important, because I woke up to 3 police officers in my apartment the next morning. And that is a part of my story that I haven't talked about a lot because I found it to be really traumatizing and also really complicated, right? Because I think it speaks to why it is so essential to talk about the available resources and the aftercare support with our support people, because even in those moments of deep concern and wanting to care and wanting to, you know, show up for the people that we care about, it can unintentionally lead to potential harm and or risk criminalization. And so to your second question, there are so many reasons as to why someone may decide to self-manage an abortion, including mistrust of the healthcare system due to systemic legacy of racism and harm, and personal experiences with discrimination, or someone like myself may just want to have something more private and be at home. And so the underlying issue is that it is medically safe to self-manage abortion with pills. We know this, and the primary risk to people is legal and not medical. And the risks of criminalization are higher for people who are already targeted for surveillance and criminalization, including Black people, Indigenous people, immigrants, LGBTQ+ people, young people, and folks who are living with identities at the intersection of these. And when folks fear arrest and criminalization, they are less likely to seek medical care. And if they do seek medical care, punishing them for, their health outcomes interferes and endangers the relationship between providers and patients. So again, it's so essential to have these conversations with our support folks about what that care and support will look like. And also, it's incumbent upon us as community members to know the protocols and to know if we do need care, we can, we don't have to tell them that we had an abortion. And there are things that we can do to protect our own and our loved ones' safety and well-being during and after their self-managed abortion. That was a lot.
Oh, that was a lot. And I want to say, just acknowledge what you went through, having 3 members of law enforcement in your room waking up. I mean, oh, Liz, I hear you, and that's what I want to say. I hear you. Wow. And thank you so much for focusing on marginalized people who are most likely to be criminalized, because of course it's not behaviors that are criminalized as much as it is people that are specifically targeted, and any range of behaviors can be used as an excuse for targeting them. And of course, abortion is right in those crosshairs. I want to ask, I'll stick to the support question. I may have another question if time permits, but do you have any words of wisdom for someone who's looking to be a better active listener for a loved one self-managing their abortion? And, additionally, what is something you wish more policymakers understood about self-managed abortion with pills? And again, I want to acknowledge what happened to you, and as a result of a support person not knowing what to expect, and that led to that outcome for you.
Yeah, I think, attending a webinar like this is a great thing that people who want to be better active listeners for folks who are self-managing their abortion. I think it's incumbent on all of us to be better informed and educated community members, and it is a community responsibility, I think, so that when and if you are supporting someone through self-managed abortion, you are just as informed as the person who is having an abortion, and so you can provide support and also listening to the person who is having an abortion. Unfortunately, again, we just didn't have a conversation like, hey, Liz, you're a really heavy sleeper. Maybe we can, set an alarm the next morning, and that's when we just check in over the phone. Or there's so many things that we could have talked about, and the blame isn't on the person who provided me support or myself. I think it speaks to the decades of the anti-choice movement really restricting publicly accessible and truthful information and knowledge and community education on how safe and effective abortion is. And so now, this webinar, for example, and the other resources that are available are excellent and practical ways that we can show up for people in our lives that are accessing abortion care. And to the policymaker question, again, it's always listening to and centering people who have had abortions, and reminding them that even in states that have legally expanded access, there's, costs and other barriers that may mean some people still lack access to clinic-based care. And even also, again, in those states that have not explicitly criminalized self-managed abortion, people still have been investigated, prosecuted, and jailed for their pregnancy outcomes. And so our public policy should do a better job at supporting people who are ending their own pregnancies or experiencing a miscarriage or stillbirth or other pregnancy outcomes.
Thank you so much for that, Liz. Really appreciate it. So I want to ask, I want to be sure I heard you correctly the first time before I ask the larger question. So this is just a really micro question. And thank you for sharing aspects of your abortion story here. So with your abortion, you had medication abortion, you took the pills at home, but did you get those pills from within the traditional medical system?
Yes.
Okay, thank you for confirming that. I thought that's what I heard, but I just wanted to confirm before I went forward. So just so our listeners are super clear on this, so medication abortion, like Liz said, is super safe, it's super effective, it is safer than Tylenol. There's more than a 20-year track record of this FDA-approved medication that people have used the world over to safely and effectively end their pregnancies. And just to be clear, Liz had, so abortion pills, not all abortion pills are necessarily a person self-managing their abortion. A person may get the pills from their medical provider who gives them and then takes the pills home and takes them as Liz did. But the process actually for how medication abortion with pills is exactly the same, as is the safety and efficacy. It's exactly the same, regardless of whether a person got those pills from a medical provider or from some other outside source. So given that the fact that, Liz, that you did have your abortion at home using pills, is there anything you wish you had known going in? Do you feel like you were adequately prepared for what to expect? And the reason I'm asking that is if there's something that you wish you had known going in about what to expect, that's really helpful for people who are listening here with an eye towards how to be a supportive person, to just know, A, like what people who are doing self-managed abortion with pills at home may not be prepared for, but B, just for their own knowledge, what it's like.
Yeah, I mean, I personally felt prepared in the sense, like, when my friend, who was supporting me, I had was like, okay, I'm going to go to bed now. And we parted ways and we didn't have the conversation about the next day. And I think now, I am much more fully aware of all of the resources available from Reproaction and other organizations that I would have loved to share with my support person and talk about maybe a bit more in depth, so that the next day when you're checking on the person that you're supporting, if you're not physically with them, like, I think it might have eased some of the panic or concern or anxiety, again, out of deep love and concern, but it might have allowed us to have a conversation, a proactive conversation about what the whole process would look like, and additional resources that may be available, and what medication abortion looks like when someone's going through the process, and what is normal and what isn't, and if medical care is needed, what that can look like, when you are saying, you might not tell them that you took abortion pills, but that you are experiencing a miscarriage and things like that to protect your safety. And so I think those resources that are readily available, I wish I had those or knowledge of those, so that I could have had this conversation with my support person.
Thank you for that. Yes. And just to underscore for our listeners that the primary risk of self-managed abortion is legal and not medical, and that with self-managed abortion with pills, or for that matter, abortion with pills more broadly, that there is no medical test to detect the presence of abortion pills in the bloodstream, and there is no medical reason for, if a person is experiencing complications and needs to seek medical care. To be clear, that is very rare, but if a person is experiencing complications and needs to present for medical care, that the treatment for complications of self-managed abortion with pills is exactly the same as the treatment for miscarriage. So just as Liz noted, a person saying that they are having a miscarriage will get the same treatment that a person saying, I took abortion pills would be getting, and that person would not be exposing themselves to the legal risk. So Liz, is there anything else you want to add before I pass it back to Tanisha to speak with our next panelist?
I think I covered just about everything I had in mind. Thank you, though.
Thank you, Liz. This is just spectacular, and really appreciate you taking the time to be with us in your very busy day. So I will pass it back to Tanisha, and if folks have questions for Liz, please put them in the questions tab, and we'll get to as many as possible at the end.
Thank you so much, Erin, and thank you so much, Liz, for taking the time to share your story and insights with us. It is an honor to have you here, and it's also an honor to introduce our next panelist. Lauren Overman uses she, her pronouns, is a clinic escort and full spectrum doula who specializes in supporting people seeking access to abortion care. She trained with Birth Advocacy Doula Trainings International, the Carolina Abortion Fund, All Options, and SAS USA. Lauren's work was recently featured in NPR and Kaiser Health blogs. Her practice centers demystifying and destigmatizing all reproductive experiences. Lauren, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. I am so grateful to be here with you all.
So I'm just going to hop in with the first question. Is just, could you share a bit more about your work as an abortion doula and what brought you to it?
Yeah, so when I was 21, I gave birth to my child, and in the postpartum fog of it all, I became very much so more aware of how deeply my reproductive experiences up until that point had impacted my life. And I became very passionate about improving those experiences and supporting other people through those experiences. So I had a miscarriage when I was a teenager. I also had an ectopic pregnancy that obviously ended in abortion because it was unsafe to carry to term when I was 20, about a year before I had my son. So as I reflected on all of that, I became incredibly passionate about helping other people understand their experiences and improving their outcomes and just making sure people didn't feel so alone, which is really what led me to my abortion doula work, because abortion is one of the most stigmatized reproductive experiences that people go through, especially in the United States. And it is so important that folks have someone to normalize those experiences and who isn't going to reinforce internalized shame and stigma that a lot of folks are already dealing with.
Thank you. I think it's really important to highlight what you said about abortion being a very stigmatized medical procedure and in the United States. And you know, the anti-abortion movement spreads misinformation and stigma and hatred to those who have abortions, and also to providers and escorts and doulas. And I'm wondering what you think can be done to help counter some of that pervasive and very harmful narrative.
So really the most powerful thing that we can do to counter the anti-abortion narrative is to embrace the full range of experiences that folks who are having abortions go through. It is holding space for people who have really deep and complicated and nuanced feelings, who might be sad about their abortion experience, who might, feel some complicated feelings, while also understanding that no, not everybody is sad and depressed and feels terrible after they have an abortion. For a lot of people, it is a very simple choice and one that they know is what's best for them, and there isn't a lot of complexity around that. And when we acknowledge that full range of experiences, we counteract the anti-abortion narrative in several ways. Number one, we reject the idea that the vast majority of people feel negatively about their abortions. And we also reject the idea that having negative feelings or big feelings or complicated feelings around an abortion inherently means that abortion was the wrong choice for you to make, or it is something that you should not have done. Because people can experience all of those things and still know that abortion was absolutely the best choice for them. They just need more support to really be able to process their emotions and their experiences and move on.
Thank you. I really appreciate everything you're bringing to this space. I'm wondering, so kind of to continue on this line of things that people don't understand about abortion, things that we can do to counteract some of the hatred that the anti-abortion movement brings. I'm wondering kind of how your work as a doula and ways you've supported people has impacted your understanding of what the general public needs for education about self-managed abortion, and whether that is like having a better understanding of like what these medications are, or if it's it can be both, of just needing to have more community conversations. I'm curious where you have seen your work lead you.
Yeah, so one thing that I found is that truthfully, the people who most need education around self-managed abortion are really the most marginalized communities. So we talk about communities who maybe speak English as a second language or don't even speak English at all. Those folks definitely need a lot of support, as well as folks in lower income communities and folks who live in places like food deserts and where resources are already hard to come by. They absolutely need information about self-managed abortion. Really, anything that is a barrier to just living your life and getting around, being able to go to doctor's appointments, all of those things can instantly become barriers to abortion care and can lead people to seek out self-managed abortion. Another really crucial population that really needs the most education is young people. Young people are oftentimes very, very restricted in their options, especially in a post-Dobbs world. They're looking at either having to travel to a state where they can get a judicial bypass and try to go to court in that state, or even just traveling to a state without a judicial bypass where they can go by themselves. And there are a lot of practical support organizations that legally cannot or won't support a minor traveling without their parents' consent, which absolutely leads those folks to seek out self-managed abortions. And one other population that I think we don't talk enough about really is evangelical women. As painful as it might be, those folks, and not just women, I really need to backtrack for a second and acknowledge that not everyone who has an abortion is a woman, and we should be using language like pregnant people and more inclusive language to make sure that no one is excluded in this conversation. But evangelical folks with the capability to get pregnant, especially, it's hard because they are some of the people we face the most vitriol from, but especially young folks with the ability to get pregnant who have grown up in evangelical settings just don't have access to a lot of the information. Oftentimes they have some of the worst sexual and reproductive health education possible, and they desperately need to know this information because it will save their lives.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. I appreciate our ability to like grasp nuance and to figure out how we can create a future where we can, you know, understand the gray space. I'm so grateful to have you here. I'm kind of, I have goosebumps, but I want to continue on, and I want to ask you, if someone is looking for an abortion doula in their area or state, how would somebody go about that? And I'm also wondering how you might recommend somebody vet the person they're reaching out to ensure that they share similar values and are not attempting to uh, forward the anti-abortion agenda with the guise of being pro-abortion or pro-choice.
Absolutely. So number one, the most important thing, or I shouldn't say the most important, but the easiest way for folks to go about finding an abortion doula is to look for an abortion doula collective in their state or general area. Places like the Colorado Doula Project, the Doula Project of New York, DC Doula Project as well. So there are a lot of collectives like that, as well as abortion funds often have resources and connections to vetted, verified, safe folks that you can reach out to for support through your abortion. If none of those are an option for you, the next thing I would suggest is to actually go on like Reddit and find pro-abortion subreddits and ask for recommendations there. Abortion doulas don't necessarily need to be in the same state, city, area as the person they're supporting, right? A lot of what we do can be provided virtually. However, if you are looking for in-person abortion doula support, I will say that is going to be easiest to find through those collectives. Now, if you don't get any hits and any like really good recommendations on Reddit threads that are known for helping people access abortion care and supporting folks through abortions, you can start looking through individual doulas on in your area, and you're going to want to pay really close attention to where they were trained. You might want to look up their training program and see if their training program offers abortion support training. Check out their website, see if they mention any kind of abortion support, that kind of thing. It's really, really important to keep your guard up when you're talking to someone until you're sure that they're safe. So if you're looking for a doula to support you through your abortion, but you're really not sure if this doula is going to be supportive of an abortion, you can let them know. You can message them and say, hi, I'm pregnant and I am looking for a birth/postpartum doula, but I really want to find someone who is values aligned. And I really want to find someone who also supports folks who would be seeking to terminate their pregnancies. Before I consider you as my birth or postpartum doula, do you support people seeking access to abortion care? You know, kind of baited hook questions. That way they don't suspect that you are seeking abortion care if they are hostile, but you also aren't going to get into a deep conversation with somebody who's going to give you false information.
Thank you. Thank you for that. I really appreciate the like in-depth understanding of kind of like, here are the different avenues and here are the different ways we can navigate them. And I just so deeply appreciate the work and support you provide for people. And I have one more question for you. I'm curious, like, what are your favorite things to recommend folks have on deck when they're self-managing their abortion at home?
This is one of my favorite questions because this information is so practical and just so useful for everyone. So for folks who are self-managing their abortions, I always like to recommend that first you have a few pregnancy tests on hand, not to take right away, but in the weeks following, because that is an important part of making sure the process is complete. Having, if you can take both Tylenol and Advil, I recommend kind of interchanging those two. So you take one dose, you take Tylenol, and then the next dose you'll take Advil, and that works as a really great combination of those two over-the-counter pain medicines to give folks the most pain relief possible. Also, oh gosh, brain fart. A heating pad is going to be really, really crucial. And that can be just a hot water bottle, an electric heating pad. They have like weighted stuffed animals you can put in the microwave now that actually work really well too. Things like that. Another thing that I like to recommend people consider is like, what type of menstrual products do you want to use? Because some people prefer pads, other people might want to use, menstrual underwear, or even just a bed pad and just hang out. It's really about whatever's comfortable for folks. I think it's important to think about what's going to work best for you. And then also for counter pressure and like pain management techniques, this sounds a little strange, but having some combs on hand that you can squeeze into your palms whenever you get like a really intense wave of cramping can actually be really helpful for pain management as well. And always, always, always stay hydrated. Have things like soups and crackers that are going to be easy on your stomach.
Thank you so much, Lauren. It has been a joy to have you on. And I am going to pass it on to Erin to get us wrapped up before we start our Q&A.
Oh my goodness, Lauren and Tanisha, that was just a profound conversation to listen to. And I thank both of you for bringing it to the audience today. I learned a lot myself. So that's the deal, y'all. We do these monthly Act and Learn webinars. They are free. They are open to the public. And we want to invite you to all of them. And so that's why please sign up for alerts at www.reproaction.org, because that way you will get the invite. You won't miss a thing, as well as more information and resources, opportunities to take action. And we invite you to follow us on social media as well. We are Reproaction on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. All right, save the date. Our next Act and Learn webinar is, we're very excited to bring to you. It'll be on Wednesday, February 8th at noon Eastern. And we're going to talk about abortion pills coming to pharmacies, which is awesome, following the FDA's announcement recently. So we'll be digging into that and explaining what's going on and what to expect, and really look forward to bringing that to you next month. So with that, I'm going to move it over to Q&A. If you have questions for Liz, if you have questions for Lauren, if you have questions for Tanisha or me, or anything you want to surface, just put it into the questions tab. I'm going to start out by acknowledging that Lauren and Liz, you're both getting a lot of love in the questions. So thank you. And I really just want to appreciate these two speakers and what they have brought today. And yes, to confirm, the webinars that we have talked about previously are on our website, and we'll be sharing those links as well in the follow-up email that is scheduled to go out tomorrow. And one question that has come in the asker is asking about abortion pills, sites selling abortion pills using technology that shares information with third parties like Google. And I want to share with you, one of the resources that Tanisha pointed out earlier in their presentation is abortion and periods and pregnancy and digital security webinar recording. But the primary risk that folks should be aware of folks who are being criminalized for self-managed abortion is not coming through technology, but actually through other people. So that's not to say, people may not have concerns, but the media has tended to focus on the big tech companies on that as the route to criminalization, when in fact it's other people who are most likely to get a person turned in to law enforcement. Is there anything else that either of our panelists want to add about that?
I mean, I can just, you know, again, even though it was out of concern and care, I think, you know, again, why those conversations are so important, and even having explicit conversations about the potential risks, legal risks, with your support person, is, you know, those are essential conversations to have, because I think, you know, personally with my experience, it was again out of concern and care, but because we didn't have those conversations, that may have been able to be avoided. So.
And I just want to add and kind of emphasize what you said, Erin, about how it's people that are getting other people turned in. You know, while yes, there are a lot of concern about, you know, big tech turning over personal information, what is going to bring law enforcement to your door is unfortunately probably a neighbor or somebody you thought was a friend. And so it's really, really important to vet the people in your life. And especially if you are self-managing your abortion in a state where it is criminalized, to hold your cards really close to your chest and only tell the most trusted folks.
Thank you to both of you, and thank you for underscoring that, Lauren, and just the need to, I'm actually going to make a mental checklist irrespective of abortion. I think in times like these, it's important and always important to vet the people in our life and really be deliberate about who we're surrounding ourselves with, where we have the element of choice. Okay, great. Oh yeah, okay, so we've got one comment in. I live in a very red state. Our legislature is bringing bills to committee that would criminalize anyone who informs another person about abortion. It is terrifying. At this juncture, I would like to personally wave at James Bopp of the National Right to Life Committee, who has drafted model legislation that maybe what the listener's comment is related to, that would actually make it a crime not just to self-manage, but to share information about self-managed abortion, or even publish it on a website. In other words, to criminalize the activity that all of us are doing right now on this call, as well as information that Reproaction shares on our website. And I think it is very important in times like these to remember that while all actions may not be safe for all people, we will never back down, and abortion is unstoppable. And it has come to the point where abortion rights advocates are also fighting for freedom of speech. So I'll just open it up there if there's anything any of the panelists or Tanisha would like to say in addition on that, other than solidarity with the person who wrote it. Okay. Next up is a question about judicial bypass and how it is used, and is it mainly for minors? Liz, do you feel comfortable taking a stab at that question?
Yeah, so we don't have, so here in Connecticut, we don't have currently mandatory parental involvement and or the judicial bypass process. But that's not to say that even this session, there's been, you know, multiple attempts at filing bills to mandate that and implement a judicial bypass and parental involvement. And so to that, that's just another mechanism. It has nothing to do about the safety and well-being of young people, but is just another way that the anti-abortion movement is trying to limit young people's access to care and infringe upon their ability to exercise their bodily autonomy with dignity and respect. And young people should be met with compassion and support. And the majority of them do tell a parent, a guardian, or another trusted adult about an unplanned pregnancy. And so instead of barriers, we should be investing in, solutions that support young people and all people who are seeking access to abortion.
Thank you so much for that. And because we're talking about young people, I just can't help but think about work Tanisha has done within the organization on young people related to gender affirming care. And I think there are some strong linkages in terms of autonomous decision making and respect for people and for young people as agents of authority over their own lives. And I just want to open it up, Ten, if there's anything else that you would like to share on the call today.
Thank you, Erin. I just want to share, I agree that we need to listen to young people with respect and compassion, and understand that the world we all live in doesn't necessarily always see young people as the full people they are. And I think when it comes to accessing any kind of healthcare as a young person that is stigmatized, like abortion care or gender affirming care, we need to remember that those of us who are not young people and know that this is happening in these young people's lives, we can be emotionally supportive. We can find resources and share resources like the ones we have here at Reproaction and other incredible orgs, and continue to stand up to let the kids be kids, because trans youth are sacred, and abortion pills are magic, and young people deserve to have the access that they want without having somebody tell them what they think is best for them. So I'm really excited to have been able to work on content like that and to be able to bring that here today as well.
Thank you so much for that, Tanisha. Appreciate it. Okay, next question is, someone's asking if our organization works with Repro Legal Helpline and Repro Care, and the answer is yes. Repro Legal Helpline is a project of If When How Lawyering for Reproductive Justice that provides exactly what it sounds like. It's a legal hotline for folks who may be considering self-managed abortion, and Repro Care is a separate hotline that provides online support voice-to-voice support for people who are self-managing or otherwise having abortions. I want to kick it back to Lauren. Are there other resources that you want to lift up or that you lift up in your doula practice for folks who are having abortions?
Yeah, absolutely. So I love all of the ones that were mentioned. Plan C pills is really, really helpful for folks, especially, and I think again, as we talk about criminalization and what that looks like for folks who, can't do quite as much when the risk of criminalization gets high, little things like being able to put a sticker with the Plan C website name on like a gas station are really, really helpful. And providing those kind of online resources are a great way to minimize your risk, because you're not personally telling someone about this and you're not personally telling them about the pills, but you are sending them somewhere safe and reliable to get that information from. And it's really, really crucial.
Thank you so much. And that is an excellent point. Okay, this is, I believe, our last question. Just asking about folks who are self-managing abortions at home later than 12 weeks into a pregnancy. And just to share that Reproaction, we focus on the World Health Organization protocol for self-managed abortion with pills. And we focus within the first 12 weeks of pregnancy. There are other organizations that are doing work on self-managed abortion with pills, but we're very deliberate on focusing on that time period because the symptoms of self-managed abortion are much more predictable, and frankly, there is the risk of criminalization increases as gestation continues. So that is where we draw the line on what we focus on with our work, but there are certainly other organizations out there who may be taking another stance. So with that, I am going to close up the webinar with profuse appreciation for Liz for sharing your story as well as your expertise, for Lauren for sharing your story as well as your expertise, and for the indomitable Tanisha Henson for bringing this webinar together and sharing your expertise and bringing these panelists and getting everyone here today. So I really wish everyone the best. Thank you so much for caring about someone else's abortion experience and how we can create that better world to be supportive people for folks who are self-managing abortion in the middle of an incredibly hostile climate in this country. So thank you so much. Never stop fighting. People will get the care they need. Damn it. Thank you. Goodbye.